one thing is very clear, that our hosts, this is our hosts over here, both of you, you're, yes, deeply, triple deeply absorbed in deity worship. I don't know you, but I know that you really like deity worship, just from this little experience.
That's like Maharaj.
Yes. It's not at all uncommon when deities are installed that there's a nice festival for the installation of a deity. They're very common. It's less common that 1 year after the installation, there's a big festival with a sign, Utsav, in honor of the deity, and a fitting and grand procedure here for honoring the deity. So I'm sure the deity is very pleased with the devotion and service that you offer. So I was asked to speak about the importance of deity worship. Now normally, when asked to do that, I would do a 101 class, but it seems to me, because of the hosts here, you have to do at least a 102, maybe a 201 class. Because you have the second canto. Standard in our teachings of Rupa Goswami, the deity worship is one of the, as you all know, one of the 5 most important items of all the items of bhakti. And any one of these 5, chanting, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, residing in a holy place like Tuako, worshipping the deity, engaging in service to the Vaishnavas, any one of these places, any one of these activities done without offense, small item, without offense, so powerful, at once one can come to the stage of Bhava Bhakti. Inviting Vaishnavas to your home, or calling the holy name, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, reciting Srimad Bhagavatam or hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, any one of these items, especially those 3, they're very accessible. Prabhupada has very kindly made Srimad Bhagavatam, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and worship of deity, very accessible. And one of the ways to make Tuako a holy place, although it says reside in a sacred place like Vrindavan, Dwarka, Mathura, Mayapur, is to worship Krishna as is done in those places. I had the experience on 2 occasions, and I heard later on that Prabhupada said the same thing in Los Angeles. But in New York, once in the Brooklyn Temple, and then later in the 55th Street Manhattan Temple, Prabhupada said, this temple is not in New York. The temple is in Vaikuntha. And his eyes got very big. Why? You can make your home Vaikuntha or the temple Vaikuntha. How? By worship. By doing those same activities. That's what deity worship is. Doing those same activities that one does in the spiritual world, in your home or in the temple or in the holy place. It makes the place a holy place. provided there's no offense. Small thing. Provided there's no offense. It's easy to chant the holy name. To chant the holy name without offense, something else. Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavatam, one can see Krishna in every page of the Bhagavatam. And he doesn't say, provided there's no offense. He gives some other conditions. Provided you listen with rapt attention. And no one can listen with rapt attention if one is not pure in mind. And no one can be pure in mind if they're not pure in action. You can't be pure in action if you're not pure in eating, sleeping, mating. So it goes way down to animal propensities need to be pure so that one can see Krishna in every page. Hear with rapt attention. Then you can see Krishna in every page. Imagine. Oh, Krishna. Oh, Krishna. Just so, like one of the verses that Prabhupada liked to quote, and quoted many times, from the scripture, that one is possessed of hellish mentality if he considers their place of birth to be worshipable, considers the spiritual master to be an ordinary man, or considers the deity to be a product of the material energy, wood, stone, metal. Hellish mentality. So, how to see otherwise? Well, how to see otherwise depends upon, very simply, the faith that you invest, just like commenting at the very beginning. It's very obvious that this family are absorbed in deity worship. They like deity worship. They're absorbed in deity worship. So it's not that they're, as Prabhupada would say, foolishly worshipping stone or metal or wood. Who would do that? And so part of deity worship that's without offense, I'll just say a few things on this. It's when there's the proper mood. What was that? Okay. Proper mood of faith. The element of faith. You can't even begin bhakti. We'll say it negative, then positive. You cannot even begin real bhakti without faith. Say it positive. Little faith is the beginning of bhakti. Then, of course, association with one who's carrying bhakti. I've been, on that note, I've been spending some time, whatever available time I have, getting absorbed, trying to get absorbed in Ram's pastimes in Ayodhya. The first two kandas of Ramayana. And one of the things that struck me very strongly, Valmiki Ramayana teaches or recites that on two occasions, very clearly, Dasarath heard and saw that his son was the personality of Godhead Vishnu. One of those occasions was Janaka, when the wedding, before the wedding, they're seated together, and Janaka informs Dasarath that my daughter Sita, it was told by Narada Rishi that this daughter of yours is the goddess of fortune, and she will one day be married to her eternal consort, Lord Vishnu. Therefore I can understand, because he was able to lift the bow of Lord Shiva, and the pronouncement, like, evidence and hearing from the great authorities. Your son is Lord Vishnu. Dasrath he was beyond regulative bhakti. He was beyond regulative bhakti. But he couldn't see his son as Vishnu. He was too much. Not the same as the residents of Vrindavan in relation to Krishna. They didn't even have the notion that he's the personality of Godhead. He was told. And Janaka is one of the 12 Mahajans. And Narada is one of the 12 Mahajans. Both saying, your son is Lord Vishnu. He couldn't. He requested Janaka, and the next morning he was very carefully observing to see that the Brahmanas performed all the details of the rituals so that there wouldn't be any mistake. Properly performed rituals, there wouldn't be any mistake, so there wouldn't be any difficulty later on in the marriage. In deity worship, the essence is not the ritual. The essence is the essence. The essence is bhakti. The essence is the faith that one has and places in the activity. Can I do a little philosophy for just a moment? Little. Rev 201, not 101. The principal verse of the entire Nectar of Devotion, principal verse that it summarizes the essence of the entire Nectar of Devotion, which is regarded as Rupa Goswami's most outstanding work, which Prabhupada chose to translate even before he completed the Bhagavatam, Nectar of Devotion. It was really early. It was 1970. He was still in the second canto. He stopped so he could translate summary study of Nectar of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Anyavilashita shunyam jnana karmadya navratam anukulyena krishnanu shilana bhaktir uttama. Most of you probably know the verse and you know its meaning. It's a definition of bhakti. I'll keep it short. There's a long version. Jiva Goswami, naturally, he commented on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In his commentary on that verse, it was Jiva Goswami, that says, this is the principal verse that governs all the other verses of the entire Paribhashya Sutra, it's called. Principal verse that governs all the other verses of the entire Nectar Devotion. He said there's three elements that are secondary and one that's primary. So of that verse, one word is ruling the other key elements of the verse. We'll come back to the deity worship. It connects directly, you'll see. There's things that you don't do and things that you do. Exclusive and inclusive. Good definition is both. So what the do not. Don't engage in trying to understand God by fruitive activity or by mental speculation. Jnana karmadya navratam. And then what do? Anushilana. Anushilana. You cultivate activities following the great souls. In really simple terms. That's what you do. But those are secondary. Why do you not do this and do that instead? Anukulyena. He explains, I'm keeping it short, this detailed, to desire to please Krishna. You do these things with the desire to please Krishna. You don't do these other things because it's not pleasing to Krishna. You can't please Krishna. You can't, without pleasing Krishna, without bhakti, you can't approach Krishna. So what do you do and not do? Please Krishna. Don't do things that are displeasing to Krishna. And that way, same as the Bhagavatam, the mind can be in rapt attention, and then you can see Krishna in every page. Again, this is a 201 discussion because of the family here. But the element of deity worship is It's not that the details are unimportant. The details are important, just like Dasrath wanted to make sure that all the rituals are performed properly so that there'd be no difficulty in the marriage of Sita and Ram. There was difficulty. It wasn't because they messed up in the rituals. It was another reason, part of Ramchandra's divine plan, his Leela. For us, the details of deity worship are really important. It's not the essence, but they're really important. If you're devoted, you want to offer the best. And offer in a regulated way, and where everything is very clean with deity worship. Prabhupada, on multiple occasions, I heard him say 2 things, and sometimes 3. Cleanliness and punctuality. And the 3rd item, sometimes he would add sincerity. Of course, that's the anukulyena element. I simply want to please. And inviting all of you to come for the 1st anniversary of the installation of the deity is pleasing to the deity. Something that I've learned about deity worship over the years is the deity is very pleased when there's kirtan performed for the deity. And not just, the musical performance, but when you sing, it says for the devotee also, if you sing for the pleasure of the deity before the deity, it's a whole other thing than if you just sing, or you sing for the effect of the musicality of the singing. It's a whole other thing. The experience of the singer is altogether different when it's offered with devotion. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is noted for preferring, amongst his numerous Bengali kirtaniers that can sing so beautifully, he preferred to have one devotee sing who didn't sing as beautifully as all the others, but his bhakti was outstanding. He preferred to hear him sing. And his ear could tell the difference. Now, those that are less advanced, we like the musicality. And when the musicality is nice, then it's easy to listen to. I've had householders described like this. Not just kirtan, but the refinements of the elements of worship or service or something. I'm just making a point that I'm very impressed with the quality of obvious, palpable quality of devotion for the pleasure of the deity that this family has. Outstanding. And when that's there, what happens? Then there's reciprocation. Doesn't Krishna say that in Bhagavad Gita? Yayatam mam prapadyante tangs tadaiva bhajamyaham. As we bhajami, Krishna reciprocates. So the importance of deity worship is to give us an opportunity to accelerate the quality of seeing Krishna as a person. To do as is done in the spiritual world, although we're not qualified. Not qualified to see Krishna, but he makes himself seeable. He makes himself available in elements that we can see and decorate. Very kind. If we don't watch out, we'll make a fence and then have some other problem. Besides, we can't see Krishna problem. We'll have some other problems. Nice example of this is, beautiful example of this is Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Gopal Bhatta Goswami, there's different versions, but the one that I like, he had Shalagram Shilas because he was raised, as we know, as the son of Venkata Bhatta, And he knew all the procedures for worship of Shalagram. And by worship of Shalagram, one worships Narayana, or any of the other forms of the Lord. When you, just like here, they have Shalagram Shila, and when there's on the altar, or you can worship Lord Varaha, Matsya, Kurma, and all the Das avatars, any of the forms of Vishnu, according to the mood of your devotion, the offerings that you make, Shalagram accepts according to that mood that you offer. So there's a longer version. To do it somewhere in between longer and shorter. When he went to Vrindavan, he was always hankering to go to the Gandakini river and get directly in his own hand Shalagram Shilas. When he went, on his way, he was received by one Brahmin, and the Brahmana was very happy to receive Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and he spent the night, took his meal, spent the night at the place. And on parting, the Brahmana said, I have one request, I have no son, please give your blessings. I hear this from time to time. Please give your blessing that we can have a son. But this man was, not an ordinary Vaishnava. Gopal Bhatta said, you have my blessings. And the man said, my first son, he'll come and serve you. Many years passed. One day when Gopal Bhatta's back in Vrindavan, one boy came and said, I'm here to serve you. My father sent me. Who are you? He said, my father is that Brahmana who you gave your blessings to, that he would have one son. That's me. I'm here to serve you. And that Brahman became the line of worshippers of the deity of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Radharaman. And he married and he had lineages, and that's the Goswami group that oversee the temple, that young man. So he went, again, different versions. When he went to receive the Shalagram Shilas, some number of them, he started going back to Vrindavan and felt, I'm not qualified. So he went to return them back into the river. But they jumped into his hand, or into the bucket, different versions. So he understood they wanted to be worshipped by him. This is because of his bhakti. Not just the externals, but because of his bhakti. And then some time passed and he's worshipping. Some of you have been to that place, the Radharaman temple, where he did his worship. And as happened from time to time, a wealthy merchant came to Vrindavan with gifts for all the Goswamis for the worship of their Radha Krishna deity, or with ornaments and cloth and very fine things, and offered to Gopal Bhatta, who received graciously, but was that night desiring in his heart, I don't have the form to worship, simply Shalagram. And then the eventful situation the next morning, Shalagram manifested as Radharaman. The purpose of narrating that is, it's the reciprocation of the deity form of the Lord with the worshipper. And that's why it's one of the 5 most potent activities, as the other 4 can also deliver Bhava Bhakti. One small condition: don't make any offense. That's a problem, isn't it? Offense is a problem. Now, if we don't have devotee association, don't have the holy name, don't have Srimad Bhagavatam, don't have the deity, and don't have the sacred place, we'll make no offense. But that's not a solution either. The solution is to become free from offense. And the power of bhakti alone, of course, carefully guarding against offenses, but alone can we do that? We require a lot of mercy, and we require the mercy of Srimad Bhagavatam, the mercy of the deity, the mercy of the Vaishnavas, the mercy of Srimad Bhagavatam. And being eager for that mercy, it goes back to the initial faith. Faith in the activity is not just the activity, it's the merciful person on the other side of the activity. The name, the book, the deity, the Vaishnava, the sacred place of pilgrimage, eagerness for mercy. And these 5 are particular deliverers of that mercy, provided we, on the positive side, sincerely strive, simply for the pleasure of the deity, simply for taking shelter of the holy name, and so forth, each of these. And carefully follow the regulations, the do's and the don'ts. Anyavilasha shunyam jnana karma jnanavartam anukulyena Krishna anushilanam. And that can carry us to Bhava Bhakti, Prema Bhakti. So the importance of deity worship is one of the 5 items that can most powerfully carry us to Bhava Bhakti and then quickly to Prema Bhakti. So we follow the regulations and standards carefully. Forgot to mention, the other situation was when Parashuram came, after they left Mithila. Again, Ram demonstrated his divinity, because Parashuram is a Shaktivesh avatar of Vishnu, and Ram is Vishnu. At least the way that Valmiki Ramayana reads. Parashuram said, years and years of austerities to get the power from Lord Vishnu, and it was told that one day I'll meet Lord Vishnu and those powers will be taken from me. Now those powers are gone. I just ask for one blessing from you, that I have no desire for material enjoyment or heavenly pleasures, so I can become situated in perfection, pure devotion to you, Lord Vishnu. Valmiki Ramayana says, Dasrath didn't hear all that, didn't understand that. Only Vishwamitra and a few others could understand what the exchange was, and what the significance of the exchange. Just somehow, Ram got relieved from, getting smashed by Parashuram. Somehow. Let's go back to Ayodhya. The power of bhakti is not an exaggeration. The power of the holy name, the power of deity worship, the power of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the power of the bhakti process is not exaggeration. It's an offense to consider that it is. It's not. And how can we access with bhakti and without offense? It's the do's and the do nots are regulated by this, governing our life by from the heart, not just the external, from the heart, embracing with faith. This is the means for me to enter into my personal relationship with the personality of Godhead. And then the stimulations for ecstatic love can be experienced because the heart becomes cleansed. The sadhana bhakti promotes one to the purer and purer and purer stage where spiritual emotion awakens when worshipping the deity or hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting the holy name. It can happen even at an early stage by special mercy. At least an abhas form of that. But to stay with it in a regulative manner, carefully, day after day, in this case, after one whole year, absorbed, like it's very clear that they're absorbed in the worship of the deity. Something happens in the relationship with the deity that's worldly people can't understand and the devotee can understand. The relationship with Krishna is something that we start to experience. That's the goal. Rejoin our forgotten relationship with Krishna. So that's the importance of deity worship. Now, unfortunately, our host has to go dress the deity and I guess attend to other things. Mainly it was meant for them, but of course for all of you too. Natural, just because of the simultaneous event of this utsav and whenever it was yesterday evening, the departure of Nilamani's father. I know that this has been weighing very heavily on the family, and as much as they knew that this was coming, when departure of a near and dear member or associate takes place, it's not easy. So I'm sure the community will do the needful, reaching out to the family and helping them in this period of grief. Wish they could. I was looking forward to seeing Nilamani and his family. So celebration on the one hand and taking away a near and dear one on the other hand. I guess one message here is don't waste any time. Who knows when time takes away. Incrementally time is taking away. I was looking at my second hand, not getting any younger. This thing and that thing that used to work okay isn't working okay anymore, not getting any younger. And at some point, the clock stops moving. Time to go to another place. So how are we using our time today to prepare for that? I'm just going to share something and then I'll end. It's just contemplating those things and speaking those things in a superficial way is more common than doing it in a more substantial way. But I'll just share this with you because lots of families that I've known for a long, long time. There's a teenage girl who grew up in a devotee family, like many of the young people here grew up in devotee families. And something happened when she turned 13. She hit a wall. The teenage wall. And her teenage stuff turned her upside down and shook her. And, she didn't say much about it. A really nice family, fantastic family. She got turned upside down, inside out. And she would still come to the temple, but her heart wasn't there. She was chanting, but she kind of didn't chant anymore. And you know what I mean? That was going on externally and internally, teenage stuff, turmoil stuff. She shared with me recently that when she entered into a English composition class, had nothing to do with English composition other than getting the students to think or search themselves. The first class, whole 60 minutes of the class, was the teacher interacting with the students, saying, you're preparing yourselves for your adult life. What are you doing today to prepare for when life is over? And she stayed with the question. And she wanted them to think about it, not, giggle and superficial, but she wanted them to think about it. That's the same message of time is ticking away, and same message. What are we doing today to prepare for that? And we know the answer. But this young teenage girl went into her heart and developed a relationship with the teachers. Not a devotee teacher, just a teacher that cares about kids. And she shared what was going on in her life and where she had been and where she was, and she took the question seriously, and as a result, she came up for air again. Some oxygen and some clarity. Not like total, but, reviving. And she had enough trust to share this with me, because I kind of knew what was going on without the detail. Now she's just filling in the detail. Bhakti is when we take such questions seriously. Not the superficial kind, but seriously, just like having a deity. And what's the significance of having a deity to worship, besides the other kids on the block are doing it? Or having a Srimad Bhagavatam in your home because the temple is promoting by Srimad Bhagavatam for your home, etc. Bhakti is just taking those kinds of fundamental questions of life in a serious way. There's the immediate, and then there's the, eternal. I was visiting in Detroit 6 months ago or more, attending a program in one of the suburb areas. The next morning, the word was one father who had, with his wife, just had their second child, newborn little baby, because he had a son, maybe 4 years old, that he was training so carefully. The boy is a jewel. And the boy wanted an associate, a sibling. So that a newborn child was born. Without any kind of medical warning at all, suddenly the light went out, gone. So there's a mother with a newborn child, young son, maybe 4 years old, no husband. The boy without a father, little baby without a father. Who can say? I visited since then, and the young boy, the 4-year-old, is doing fine. The mother's not doing so fine. She's adjusting, but because so much was invested in the 4-year-old, he's taking the role of the father as the elder brother of his younger brother, caring for him like a father, and he'll probably teach him like his father taught him everything that he knows. And of course the community is there to help, but what can you do? They're there to help. Anyway, I'm bringing these are anecdotal things that just are intended to help prompt, take up the process of bhakti when it's from the heart, where it's for the pleasure of Krishna. And that can carry us beyond inattentiveness and all the other things that make up offense. And then we can see Krishna in every page of the Bhagavatam, and we can experience our relationship with Krishna when worshipping him in his deity form, and experience something in our chanting besides a distracted mind. Maybe it's just getting older makes me think these thoughts. Those of you that are getting older probably think these thoughts too. Maybe it's the bhakti process is finally getting through. They have a very, very powerful process that has very kindly been gifted to us by our founder Acharya. such a gift. See the gift for what it is. It's easy to say some phrases. It's your ticket back to Godhead. Well, that's nice. You don't need a passport. You don't need a visa. You don't need go through security. Just get on board. Take shelter of the holy name. Take shelter of this wonderful process. Take shelter of the Bhagavatam. Take shelter of the deity in a very genuine way. Now take it back to Godhead, out of the turmoil. Too much turmoil. Take shelter. So, how's everything going with the deity? The deity's now dressed?
Yes, the process.
How much? How much time? 10 minutes? 15 minutes? I just want to know how long to let the question answer period go. Any discussion? Yes.
Prabhupada also said that when old age areas of India are ladies and ladies are the family leaders. About 15 minutes.
15, okay. Thank you. Well, he didn't qualify it like that. He didn't qualify it like that. It's okay to qualify it like that. Now, supposing, I'm just saying like that because here's a nice family and they're taking their deity worship very seriously. I know householders that have the very same standard as temple worship in their home. So, now, deity worship is another way of saying what you're saying. It's in the Bhagavatam. Deity worship is incomplete without prasadam distribution. Now, how that prasadam distribution takes place can vary. I don't know if, suburban New Jersey has people going hungry. But, the principle of distributing the mercy of the deity to others somehow or another is part of the deity worship. It's not just part of our benevolence or charity work. It's part of deity worship, part of bhakti. How about our host? Do you have anything you want to ask or add? Comment, question?
No, Maharaj.
You're okay.
Good.
You're happy. Yes. By doing deity worship, does one overcome offenses or have to avoid offenses when doing deity worship? You know the answer. Supposing I'm not clean, just, something very simple. Or supposing I'm late, like really late. Supposing I'm unregulated. I'm doing deity worship. Does that mean I'm overcoming offenses by doing it? Or, let's say I follow the regulations. I'm on time, things are clean. But supposing my mind's in the gutter. By doing the deity worship per se, is that going to take me to the place where I'm free from offense? I have to strive to become free from offense. And that principle is anukulyena. I want to do this for the pleasure of Krishna. That's the bhakti principle, and the bhakti principle can't carry one beyond offense. If you're interested, Jiva Goswami addresses this topic at length in his Bhakti Sandarbha. And it starts around 163 goes through 182. Not specifically about deity worship, but the role of offense and anarthas that arise in the heart due to offense, and the difficulty of overcoming the anarthas that arise due to offense. And he explains it's not just in this lifetime, it's many, many lifetimes. We are born with a stockpile of offense or anarthas in the heart. So the power of bhakti is checked by the presence of anarthas in the heart. Just like the light of the sun is checked or obfuscated by the clouds in the sky. It's still light, but not the direct light of the sun when there's clouds in the sky. And offense has that effect. So it's not that by performing deity worship, offense is going to be cleared. We must continue, it's like chanting the holy name. We must continue chanting the holy name. But we have to continue chanting the holy name, avoiding offenses. Otherwise, Buhu Nam Janma Namante. Oops. Buhu Janma Kadiyati Shravana Kirtana. Many lifetimes we will not get Krishna Prema. Won't go beyond offense. They have to strive. Both. It's a science. And the power of bhakti is, I want to go on the other side of my conditioning, reactions to past karma, reaction to past sins, reaction to past offense. I want to get to that position of simply pleasing Krishna. Elaborately discussed by Jiva Goswami. Yes. I'll repeat his question because his voice is soft. Yeah. 9 stages of bhakti, starting with Shravan and Kirtanam, and? Go ahead, keep going.
So my question is, by doing deity worship, we can improve the chanting, Shravan quality?
Yes. Will deity worship help us improve our hearing and chanting? Sure. Provided you don't make offense. Sure. Yes, parallel. 2 tracks of a train, Prabhupada said. The Bhagavat, Vidhi, and the deity worship, Pancha Triki Vidhi. The rules and regulations that govern deity worship, the rules and regulations that govern hearing and chanting, like 2 tracks of a train. Okay? Yes.
You were mentioning the Ramayana, right? We don't have Prabhupada's commentaries on Ramayana.
We don't have the which?
Prabhupada's commentaries on Ramayana.
We don't have, no.
Whose commentaries can we, would you suggest if they want to read Ramayana?
If you want to hear Ramayana, where should you hear from? That's your question?
Read Ramayana.
Reading Ramayana. Well, that's a good question. It can sometimes be a sensitive question too, depending. Here's what Prabhupada writes in that section in Srimad Bhagavatam where Shukadeva Goswami starts speaking about Ram's pastimes. He says, there are many versions. I'm only going to refer to the authorized ones. And that was 5,000 years ago. And since 5,000 years ago, the marketplace is filled with many others. So, what to do? Which is your question. Now, Prabhupada encouraged us to stick with Valmiki Ramayana. I'm not going to get into it, but he encouraged us to hear from Valmiki Ramayana. And what's a good version of Valmiki Ramayana to hear from? Well, there's two, and that I'm aware of. There may be others that I'm not aware of. Three, actually. Three. Krishna Dharma from the UK did a little summary. It's not, the details and details. And Purna Pragya, Prabhupada disciple, who I asked him because I have a relationship with him. I had a question about something that was in his version. And he said, all I did was take this, old English translation of Valmiki Ramayana and made it more readable. So I don't have the answer to your question. But it was, following Valmiki Ramayana. So that's, at least we know it's Valmiki Ramayana. And Bhakti Vikas Maharaj spent some time writing Ramayana. In the beginning, for example, said, take note that in this Ramayana, there's no mention of Rameshwaram, because it's not in Valmiki Ramayana. Now, some years ago, we went on a tour in South India following the path that Mahaprabhu followed, and he went to Rameshwaram. Although it's not in Valmiki Ramayana, which indicates he accepted it as authentic, although it's not in Valmiki Ramayana. So there may be things that are not in Valmiki Ramayana that at least Mahaprabhu accepted as authentic. So those are three sources that I would, personally feel comfortable reading and feel comfortable encouraging others to read. And the others is kind of, I don't know, I can't comment. I know what Prabhupada encouraged. And specifically Prabhupada wrote in the purport, there are many reciters of Ramayana and versions of Ramayana, and we should stick with Valmiki Ramayana. At least we should be very careful. So those are three that I think are worthy of reading. Particularly Krishna Dharmas, the language is really readable. He's a very good writer. Yeah.
Maharaj, you were talking about Dasarath Maharaj. Janam Maharaj is telling about Ramchandra. So my question is, how did he react it, and then how long it lasted?
Well, there's not detail that I'm aware of how long it lasted. It kind of, he was astonished, and his emotion, fatherly affection was so strong, it overwhelmed the thought. So he stopped thinking the thought, because it just didn't match the parental affection. He saw Ram as his son, and he was attached to his son. It's described in Valmiki Ramayana that sometimes Dasarath would call for Ram to come, and Ram would come. He said, "My dear father, what is it?" No, I just wanted to see you." And then he would go. And a few minutes later, Dasarath would call him again. And immediately Ram would come, obedient son to his father. "What is it, my dear father?" No, I just wanted to see you." And that would give him some, moral instruction or something, and he would go. "Never depart from virtue." "Yes, father." Some moments later, call him again. I want to see Ram. Call him here. It's attached as a father, more than a father is attached to a son, attached as a pure, eternal associate of Ram. So he was overwhelmed by that parental affection, and so the thought of him as Vishnu didn't stick for very long. However long it went, didn't stick. This is pretty amazing. How many preparations? Mataji, how many?
Minimum 56.
56.
But we have more than 56, Maharaj.
Okay. We're going to need some more guests. Or make some arrangement to distribute the prasadam somewhere when we're done. Yes.
You mentioned Bhav Bhakti.
I mentioned which verse?
Bhav Bhakti and the Prem Bhakti.
Bhava Bhakti.
Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti?
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do we understand the difference between the two? How do we understand the difference?
Oh, real simple is Prema Bhakti is the mature stage. A simple metaphor of the acharyas is bhava is like the flower and prema is like the fruit that comes after the flower. The flower is an indication the fruit is going to come. And then the fruit comes. It's just the mature stage of the other. And it's not with a tree, it is a matter of time and a little bit circumstance. If there's a storm or something, then maybe the flower won't turn into a fruit. But when one comes to a little more detail, this is from Madhurya Kandamani by Vishwanath. The mixing of bhavas, there's a bhava that rises and one has some ecstatic feeling. And prema is there's an unlimited mixture of bhavas, mixing, and comes out in the form of a particular feeling of love. And then other ecstasies come and that feeling of love modifies to another feeling of love, another feeling of love. It's just a mixing of bhavas is the stage of prema. For us it's just intellectual. But there is a distinction, the mature stage.
I probably misunderstood it, like bhav, the word in Hindi bhav means like you have like parental feeling.
Yes, sure. It's within Ishwara Bhav. Everyone knows what that one is. So it's a feeling, and the feeling pervades your lifestyle and your being, and the affection of the child for the parent, the affection of the parent for the child. Then prema is the mature stage, in the stage of love for Krishna, the mature stage. There's the worldly sense of all of these terms. Here's something I learned from Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Just because we're stalling for time while we're waiting for the offering. He became, I don't know if you know a little bit about him, but whatever he did, he had to be the best. Very competitive. The best. So, at one point in time, he became very interested in teaching at the VIAG, and so he started studying Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in a very deep way, and he became interested in then the dramas of Rupa Goswami. So he learned the science of drama, And there's a science to drama. The nature of drama is, the Vedic nature of drama is, there are stimulations for ecstatic love. The purpose of Vedic drama is to stimulate in the audience feelings of love for Krishna, or feelings of love for Ram, or feelings of love for the personality of God in some other form. It's to stimulate that. And there's elements to stimulate. So the language of Rupa Goswami in describing Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is derived from that text, that portion of the Vedas that teaches drama. And this stimulates that. And there's different, for example, different kinds of smile or different kinds of laughter that are stimulated in different ways. He took all of that terminology and Krishnaized it, because that's actually what it's meant for, is to stimulate love for Krishna. So as he's describing, this means this and that means that, what's going on is he's stimulating ecstatic love for Krishna by teaching the science of how ecstatic love for Krishna can be characterized in different ways. And so he took that study of Vedic drama and composed a drama. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Jagannath Priya Natakam. And I experienced the drama, and of course, the competitive Tamal Krishna Maharaj, it had to be the best. So he arranged for an orchestra of musical performers from Calcutta to create the musical score that would enhance the drama of, the search for Nila Madhava. And I remember when, Indradumna Maharaj went to see, finally, after all the ordeal, and the door opens and there's no deity. Everybody cried. Out of feelings of anticipation of seeing Nila Madhava and not seeing Nila Madhava. I went and saw it 3 times, just so I could cry again and cry again. But the mood, the stimulation is to come to the stage where you want to meet Krishna. The anticipation, it's a raga, it's a mood of affection and love. And sometimes you see, sometimes you don't see. And different emotions come when you see and you don't see. It's really, really beautifully done. That's the prema stage, is mixing of different emotions. It's just spontaneous, they arise. They stay for some time, like waves. And then the wave rises, and then it subsides, and then comes another wave, and that's prema, a mixing of waves of ecstasy. And there's only one thing, the pleasure of Krishna. The bhakta experiences prema, but the object of prema is one thing, Krishna, because Krishna's pleasure. It's not about our ecstasy, it's about Krishna's pleasure. That's the eligibility. We have a very powerful process. Very powerful.
I think we have more than 100.
Close to 1 million? 100. 108. 108. So when are the deities going to appear? Just now coming?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. So let's have kirtan. You want to ask a question? Because 2 minutes becomes 10. I know how it goes. What is Rasika Bhakta? It's a very elevated question, Rasika means one who can taste rasa. Is that Rasika Bhakta? And one who can taste rasa is one who has that spiritual qualification of being attached, deeply attached to Krishna. Rati.
difference between like Raganuga and
This is technical, but Raganuga, Anuga means follower. Raga, Anuga, follower of Raga. And Rasika is one who's tasting rasa. The one is that they're already there. They're already there. And another is a follower. It's a nice topic. It's one we don't talk about much in ISKCON. In one sense, in a big, broad sense, those who follow sadhana bhakti along the line of Rupa Goswami and do so sincerely, small element, but sincerely, they're on that path. They're cultivating that stage of bhakti that's known as bhava bhakti. That's the cultivation. There's so many other things that go on in between now and there, but that's we're followers of Rupa Goswami. That's what we're doing. Maybe less aware, maybe more aware, but that's what we're doing. And if we read carefully, if we have this rapt attention kind of mind, we're pure in action because we're pure in mind, then we'll start to understand those things little by little, through the purification. And then part of the difficulty is those that are not yet pure in mind because they're not yet pure in action and so forth, these topics are unapproachable. And then they're taken in a way that one is not qualified to understand, and one may imitate, and becomes a problem for that person. So for those reasons, these kinds of topics are not public topics. It's for qualified devotees to carefully understand, hear. The messages are there in Prabhupada's books. They're there. Read them carefully. Apply them carefully. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.